Hi, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Our Voices Matter, a podcast series brought to you by Youth Sounding Board Nepal, also known as YSP. My name is Amresh Shah, and I'm a member of the third cohort of YSP, an initiative supported by European Union delegation to Nepal to amplify youth voices across all levels of governance and policy making. YSP's main aim is to guide European Union to make its development cooperation in Nepal more participatory, relevant, and effective for young Nepalese. And today, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Smarika. Over to you, Smarika.
Hello, everyone. I am Smarika, and I'm also a member of Youth Sounding Board's third cohort. Today, for our very first episode, we will be speaking to the Ambassador of European Union to Nepal, Her Excellency Veronique Lorenzo. Welcome to the podcast, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Ambassador, before we get started into the depth and nitty-gritty of the question, we would love to know more about you. While we know your story through Youth Sounding Board, many of our listeners and viewers may not know your story. So how did you exactly get into the world of diplomacy, and what exactly brought you to Nepal?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I'm an accidental diplomat.
Wow.
I come from the world of development. I'm an agricultural economist by training, and I've worked 20 years in agriculture, in rural development, in microfinance. And as you go up in the career, you become less technical, more management. And then came the opportunity to become ambassador in Somalia. Not a usual post, but I really relished the opportunity to be in a position where you have more power, where you can make decisions, where you are heard, you're respected. And that was for a country in a region that is very close to my heart. So that was the start. And then I came to Nepal. And Nepal was, I didn't handpick it, but I had a short list of countries that were available. And my husband was really hoping to get Nepal, and this is what we got. So here we are.
Yeah, as a young girl, I've also always wondered how does one actually start their journey into diplomacy? And today, I think I kind of got my answer as well. And it's been over a year since you've been ambassador to Nepal. So we just really want to know what's been your most rewarding experience so far?
So it's been almost 2 years now. And honestly, my most rewarding experience has been with you guys. You know, it's such a pleasure to see the young people in Nepal. There's such energy, enthusiasm, ideas, entrepreneurship. It's I'm always every time I come out with from a conversation with the YSB in a group or individually, I'm always amazed and inspired. And I come out, as opposed to some other meetings I have where I come very depressed. I come out very depressed. From conversations with you guys, I come out re-energized.
That's amazing. I believe Gen Z got the energy and the enthusiasm to lead the movement in Nepal and globally. During our research, Ambassador, I came across a few information about your profile, and I was honestly very surprised by it.
Oh dear.
You had been in this country. You had visited this country back in early 2000 during a period of insurgency, civil war, and general instability. And now currently you are serving as European Union ambassador to Nepal. And between the past 2 decades, what exactly has changed in Nepal for the better or for the worse?
Oh my God, what hasn't changed? Everything has changed. And I have to say, it wasn't, it was a nice place back in 2001, but I can't say I was enthused because, as you say, it was a time of insurgency. I worked in agriculture back then, and we couldn't get out of Kathmandu. So, there was very little point. There was this weight, this grayness about Nepal. And of course, almost 25 years later, everything has changed. By and large, for the better. There's more There's more urbanization, there's more initiative, there's more places to go. The urbanization hasn't always been done in the right way, but I think if you look also at all the social indicators, they have improved dramatically. I think you can really say there's been more than a transition. It's been a revolution, and this revolution continues in Nepal.
Indeed, it's very, very interesting to hear from someone who's been in our country when it was in complete shambles, a lot of instability, to today's phase of democracy, and as you said, a lot of initiation. And definitely, European Union in its own ways have made significant contribution to this stage as well. So just the year 2024 marked 50 years of relationship between the European Union and Nepal. And we just want to know, how would you like to characterize this half a century long-standing relationship between these two parties?
Um, if I had to use one word, I would call it expanding. I think if you look back 20 years ago, the European Union was a traditional development partner. It invested in social sectors. It invested in agriculture, but it was very much defined by the aid it brought to Nepal, the support to development. 25 years later, again, you see the scope of relations very much expanded. We are now, and this is, I like this evolution because it means we are more equal partners now with Nepal. We work together in multilateral fora. We work together on trying to increase trade and investment, for instance. That's really badly needed for Nepal. We work together in the people-to-people dimension, which is so important between our region, between the European Union, that's so diverse, but also Nepal, that with all its diversity.
In the past few decades, the strength of bond between European Union and Nepal has strengthened despite the challenges that these two parties have had. But let's get back to the youth aspect. Young people has been a center of focus between these two parties as well. Youth Sounding Board, which is one of the engagement through which European Union empowers Nepal through two-way feedback and engagement in this country. But there is a question to be had here. Has input from young people, youth like us, or youth from Youth Sounding Board actually shifted any priority or policy changes of European Union to Nepal locally, be it locally or globally, Ambassador?
Absolutely, it has. So the bringing in young people came from a reflection, twofold, I would say. One, that it was really difficult to understand what the European Union was. Most people said, European, and what are you doing here? And there's no good understanding. So we needed to improve that and reach out to citizens and simplify the message. And who better than young people to be receivers and transmitters of that? And the second one, I think, is the realization that young people are not just the future of the country; they are the present, and they are actors. And I think we fully realize that with the interaction with the first cohorts of the Youth Sounding Board. It is. We started by asking, and when I came to Nepal, I thought it was an interesting idea. Let's hear what young people have to say. And when I came out of the first meeting, I was totally bowled over. It's like, wow, this is a force to be reckoned with. So it is a true voice. It is a substantive voice. You have issues, you have priorities. And so we listen to you. I am not going to tell you, we changed this project because of what the Youth Sounding Board told us. But I think in our approach, and how we conduct our relations with Nepal, you have very much become an important factor. And also you have disseminated and amplified the voice of the European Union. And I hope more people understand better what the European Union is.
It's so rewarding to hear someone like you talk so fondly about our Youth Sounding Board. And I'm also so glad that Youth Sounding Board members have been shaping EU's work and its activities, and will definitely be on a watch out for future programs of EU to see the reflection of young people as well. In our own cohort of Youth Sounding Board also, we have monthly meetings, discussions about the opportunities given to us during our tenure at the Youth Sounding Board, the missions that we went to, the things that we learned. And just last month in our meeting, a fellow YSB member mentioned having an opportunity to go to visit Madhya province on a joint mission between European Union and Save the Children. The project was titled Leave No One Behind. As a young person with a disability myself, I was really touched when she mentioned how this joint mission is really helping those young kids with disabilities navigate their educational needs by providing them with personalized teachers, tutors, assistive devices, and reading materials. But this is just one area where European Union works in. So could you tell us more about other diverse range of areas in which European Union supports Nepal?
So education is definitely the long-term anchor. We have worked on education for more than 25 years, and we have chosen very much to support the government's policy. And the government's policy had two main objectives. One was to increase access. And if you look at the figures 25 years ago and now, they have improved dramatically. That is an indicator that I think we can say has met with success. And then the second objective is about quality education. And there, I'm afraid we still have work to do. But we will continue to be engaged in education because this is really the foundation for everything else. It's the foundation to acquire skills, to acquire employment, and I guess we'll talk about it in another question, but employment is really the crucial issue for Nepal today. Let me go back to the two other areas that the European Union focuses on. One is green growth. And in green growth, the Green Deal is a high political priority for the European Union. And part of this green growth is to be able to reduce our footprint, our carbon emissions. We need to have an energy transition and to transition towards green energy. And Nepal has is one of the best countries in the world to transition to green energy, in particular because of its hydro potential. And so we're very much invested in supporting that energy transition with investments in hydro, but also with investments in the transmission and distribution infrastructure. And then thirdly is the skeleton, I would say, of this government. With the federal constitution of 2015, there was a need to build from the bottom for the local governments the administrative structure. And so we work very much in support of this local government. And we see, people in Kathmandu don't see it very much. But when you go out of Kathmandu, you realize what a transformation these governments have seen. Lots of problems, still, lack of resources, lack of capacity, lack of staff, legislation that should have been passed to enable the federalism to be implemented that hasn't happened. But still, there's a big difference and there's a lot more empowerment at local level than there was 10 years ago. So these are the three sectors. That was a long answer, sorry, to your short question about where we work.
Of course, we'd always love to hear more about you, and we definitely learned so much that we never even thought about or never even knew about our own country. So let me just ask a follow-up about human rights. On these days, due to a lot of diverse factors in Nepal, human rights has become a major concern, and it's very important that human rights of every single individual is fulfilled, irrespective of their backgrounds. So how is EU supporting Nepal government to make sure that its human rights commitments are completely executed?
So let me first start by saying that I think Nepal has a very good foundation it's still a country that respects human rights. You always have to look at, the region and compare Nepal's position. And Nepal is in a good place for that. It has excellent policies. It has a good framework. Where we see issues is very often in the implementation. And human rights includes issues such as inclusion or the discrimination based on caste, based on religion, based on gender, and also the big issue that is still weighing on Nepal's shoulders around transitional justice. There's slow progress being made now with the appointment of the Truth and Reconciliation and the Disappearances Commission, but there needs to be there has to be a constant effort to translate these policies into implementation, and this is where I think the European Union puts its effort in concrete programs that respond to people's needs on the ground, but also in terms of nudging the government to say, hey, this is still a priority. We need to see the results on the ground.
In one of the conversation right now, you mentioned about gender equality, and in general, European Union promotes the value of gender inclusion, gender equity across the world, be it globally and locally. But let's rewind back the time. It's been a year that we have been part of Youth Sounding Board now, and I'd like to share one of my experiences where I got to meet the EU delegation team for the first time in Nepal, European Union delegation team in their offices. And something I was very surprised and inspired by was the number of women in the leadership and change makers role. That is something we generally do not see in Nepalese government or institution or organization in Nepal. Even in Kathmandu, we do not see many women in such leadership roles, while the circumstances are currently changing. But I'd like to ask you a question, Ambassador. How do we ensure that women and girls are ensured a place in such leadership and change maker role? And is there a lesson to be learned from Europe's inclusion journey?
I'll give you the short answer first and the long answer after.
Definitely.
The short answer is about political will. Constant, persistent, perseverant political will. This is an agenda that, even in Europe, can go back anytime. And we have seen with COVID, with the rise of some extreme right-wing parties, that this agenda can go backwards. So the first thing is always to have it very, very present. The long answer is that we have, for the European Union, gender equality and women empowerment is not just a moral imperative. It's a question of common sense and even good business. Women, right? We are 51%
Exactly.
of the workforce of the population in Nepal. To ignore 51% of your population is to be sitting on half your potential or more than half your potential. So there has to be this mindset. And I think this is an amazing time to change mindsets because, as I said, Nepal is going through a huge silent revolution, I would argue, with huge population movements from the Pahad to the Terai, from the rural areas to urban centers, to Kathmandu as well, and to outside. And this changes. It changes people's view of the world. It exposes them to more experiences, to different ways of doing things. And in particular, the migration of men, because it's still a large majority are men migrating outside of the country, leave many households to be headed by women. And while the negative sides to it, because they have more work, more workload, more responsibility, it also gives them the decision-making power. And this is a huge shift in dynamic. And in Europe, we saw the same thing during the First World War. When all the men went off to war, the women had to take their places in the factories and produce armament, they had to take a paid place because they are productive, but they're often unpaid. They became part of the paid productive labor force. And I very much believe this is what's happening in Nepal. And this is an opportunity to make it even more conscious. You need to promote women because it will contribute to Nepal's prosperity.
Definitely, Nepal is missing out on a lot of money, it seems, Nepal's economy.
Indeed, but we had to also admit, yes, a lot of things are shifting today. A lot of gender dynamics that used to be there is shifting, and we can see women assuming more and more leadership positions. And I hope this continues in the future as well, so that Nepal government could fully utilize its women's potential. Actually, at the age of 18, when I myself joined Young Women's Mentorship Program, I was also truly, truly amazed by so many female ambassadors, country directors, head of missions, and head of UN agencies. As a young woman myself, it was truly inspiring for me since I didn't get to witness a lot of that growing up in the society. Talking about assuming important leadership positions, earlier this month, during our mentorship lunch program, we got to meet a lot of Erasmus alumni who were accelerating in their respective positions, some in academia, some in developmental agencies, and many other positions. So we just want to know more about what this Erasmus program is all about.
Erasmus really is a wonderful invention of the European Union. We have it inside Europe, and then we created an external dimension to give the opportunity to bright young people in our partner countries to go and do further studies at master's level in Europe. And this has been done in a very thoughtful and comprehensive way. Number one, they are centers of excellence. So it's very selective, and there are only about 30 places a year, but the education is absolutely top quality. Number two, it is the kind of exposure for a young mind that will change that person's outlook on the world. Especially because often there are two combined universities in different places, such as Germany and Spain, and so that expand it. Compounds the exposure that a young Erasmus student has. And number three, it's a really well-paid scholarship. So this is really important, because when you look at the number of young Nepalis who go out with a student visa, but then find themselves in financial difficulties and have to work too much to be able to really pay good attention to their studies. It's an extra burden. It's a cause for anxiety, for depression. This gives the students financial security and the peace of mind to be able to devote themselves totally to their studies and to that exposure. So, did I sell Erasmus well?
Yes, absolutely. I think you did.
Ambassador, and we could not have had a better person to talk about Erasmus program, since I believe a decade back you were part of the Erasmus program yourself in some capacity. And just a few days back we were talking about, me and Smarika were talking about our future career and education options, and Erasmus definitely is something we'd both love to explore. And this comes from our interaction with Erasmus alumni during our mentorship launch as well. And that speaks volume about the priority European Union keeps on youth and education in Nepal. But there is a conversation to be had here, Ambassador. Are we forgetting the rural youths of Nepal? Are these opportunities available to youth outside of Kathmandu who may not share the same access to privilege, information, or education itself?
I think you would have been right 10 years ago when it was difficult to disseminate the information outside Kathmandu. But there are two things that have changed. The first one is the internet, and the availability. Anyone in the remotest place of Nepal can have access to the site, can look at, the courses available, and will be subject to the same selection criteria. So this is available. Of course, you can argue, but they don't know. We need to inform them. And so what we've done, and we've done it last year, is to have a roadshow that goes outside Kathmandu precisely to make young people more aware of this possibility. So, yes, perhaps there is a bias, of course. In Kathmandu, youth are more informed, are more aware, but we are really consciously trying to erase that bias by going out of the Kathmandu Valley.
Yeah, I can vouch for that myself, because many of our members from Youth Sounding Board have been part of Erasmus Roadshow. They have volunteered. They have been part of the Roadshow program themselves.
Yes, and they mentioned having lots of fun. They are the potentials for Erasmus scholarship as well. Yeah, exactly. And
if I may say so, this is also greatly helpful for us. We don't have, these are tough days, and we have budget cuts, and our resources are so. The contribution we get from you for this kind of thing, in terms of volunteers, for the Erasmus Roadshows, or for other events, for amplifying our voice, is so useful, valuable, and powerful.
I believe that also sends a message to a younger audience of Nepal as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also getting back to the earlier question of rural youths, I think Amresh and I are testament to that as well, because we are both from outside the valley, and we've been getting a lot of opportunities, especially after we joined European Union's Youth Sounding Board program. And we really hope a lot of more young people like us from all over the country get similar opportunities and equal share of it in that matter. So talking about youth and transformation, our country, Nepal, is planning to graduate from least developed to developing country by 2026. And while this might be a transformative movement for a state, a lot of things are going to be changed for us young people. Things are going to be a bit unstable for us as the world that we perceive right now. So what do you think? Is Nepal truly ready for this transition? And what do you think this means for us young people?
I think you can always hide behind the income figures. It's true that there's three selection criteria for Nepal to graduate, and one of them, the income figure, isn't quite what it should be. And you can always say, but we're not ready, we're not ready, we're not ready. But if you keep saying that, if you don't have the ambition to move forward, to make the jump, you'll never make it. Yeah. So I think first is this decision, which I think is very brave of the government, to say, okay, we're going to graduate. The same thing in Bangladesh, the same thing in Laos, November 2026. But then they have to face they have to do their homework. It's a question about doing that. It's not impossible. It's a question of doing homework. So there's a lot of legislation that needs to change. There's a lot of regulations that needs to change. There's a lot of regulations that need to be implemented. And the private sector will also need to work on its competitiveness. Because one of the challenges Nepal will face is that it won't have zero tariff, preferential treatment anymore. It will be subject to some tariffs, to some imposition. We have a very good, as European Union, we have a very good system that's called the Generalized System of Preference Plus, GSP Plus, that still gives very preferential treatment to Nepal, but it requires a number of conventions on human rights, on labor rights, on freedom of association, and so on, to be ratified. And there again, Nepal needs to do a bit of homework to be able to have accession to that system. But it's possible. It needs to. That's one part, and that's a little bit the government's homework. There's another part that is around the need to grow. With this graduation, Nepal needs economic growth. And to do that, it needs investment, internal and external, and it needs to create employment. You know better than me that only 10% of the 500,000 to 600,000 young people who come onto the labor market every year get a job. Most of the rest try to go outside, which is heartbreaking. But you cannot prevent young people from seeking better opportunities in life. So the secret is in trying to create these opportunities here in Nepal. And there's a lot of potential. Again, there's some homework to be done by the Nepal government to make the environment more friendly, to attract more investment. I think, they're aware of it, they've started to work on it. And it's our job to try and attract our European investors to have a look at Nepal, to have a look at the potential of Nepal, and to come and invest here.
Yeah, that's so reassuring for us young people to hear that from you.
But at the same time, young people today will bear a lot larger responsibility in this transformation and transition for Nepal. But at the same time, young people today are facing some challenges. They are haunted by the ghost of the past in this country, where we face the issue of structural and systemic inequities, gender inequality, and caste system. And at the same time, we have some new challenges, upcoming challenges in the present and the future, such as climate change, climate crisis, mass migration, and there is also the issue of global and geographical conflict that we have had across the world globally.
Yes, I agree. I'm so glad you brought that up. In recent months, we've been witnessing a lot of conflictive situations between states, between regions, which has really heightened our sense of insecurity and created a lot of instability around the world. So, what role will European Union play in mediating such conflictive situation and making world a safer place for everybody?
Honestly, I feel safer here in Nepal than I would in Europe. You know that we have a war at our door that has, we've for 70 years we've lived free of fear, and now the war is back with the Russians' invasion of Ukraine. It's a really scary situation, and all people talk about now is, oh my God, we need to improve our security and defense. We need to increase the budgets to rearm. This is not the world we wanted, but it's the world we need to respond to those challenges and step up to that. And so we are responding as European Union to our situation. We are always also, because of the more difficult global context, very intent on creating more alliances with more international partners. And Nepal is a clear, like-minded partner. And the intention is to strengthen the relations with India, for instance. That is our strategic partner. There's been an intensification of relations with the negotiation of a free trade agreement, with the preparation of a summit at the end of this year. So there's a lot more attention of the European Union to other parts of the world. And while, you could say that Nepal is always in a bit of a difficult situation because it's squeezed between two giants, at the same time, it is a peaceful country with a good neutral foreign policy. And in these difficult days, Nepal I would argue, is the best place to live at the moment in these difficult, troubled waters.
Indeed, when you are among the two growing nation, two developing giants, it is quite relevant that the country in the middle will also grow alongside. Ambassador, but we were planning to have a lot of fun conversation, but it is such a rarity that we get to hold people in power accountable, and I'm glad we are having this conversation today. But now we are at the next phase of our podcast series. It's
The fun part.
the fun part. Yes, the fun part. So we are going to play a game. It's a rapid fire round where we'll ask you a series of questions and you'll not have time to think about the answer. Are you ready, Ambassador?
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay, shall I start? Okay. Your preference, momo or dalba?
Dalbat.
What is your favorite place in all of Nepal?
Mustang.
Wow, mine too. Your favorite Nepali word?
Sundar.
A book that you recommend all or most young Nepalese to read?
Nepali or international?
It can be any.
Okay, so I think that the book that has made most impression on me and that I would recommend to absolutely everybody around the world to read is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Magical.
So we'll definitely read those. So coffee and chia or chia?
It depends. No, it depends on the time of the day. In the morning, it's coffee. And in the afternoon, it's chia, especially Nepali tea. Love it.
I believe it also depends on the work responsibilities that you have for the day.
If I need to be awake, I need coffee.
Coffee, indeed. So, one final question for the rapid fire round. What is something, be it tradition, values, or culture, that you take from Nepal to Europe once you go back?
One thing, there's so many things, but I'll tell you what I do in my spare time. I scout around for all kinds of exhibitions, art exhibitions. The art scene in Nepal is fantastic. And I'm not just talking about, the traditional pauba or tanka or the traditional sculptures that are so rich, but the young generation, the young artists, because they've come out, they come out with something that's fusion. And that is so rich, and you never know. Whenever I go to an exhibition, I never know what to expect, what I'm going to see. But I know it's going to be different, that it will excite my curiosity and full of creativity.
That sounds really amazing. Now we are almost at the very end of our podcast. So, Ambassador, what message do you have for that young person out there who is really aspiring to be involved with the European Union?
So, if you're passionate about something, doesn't matter about what, but if you're passionate, committed, engaged, if hard worker, and if you want to make your voice heard, I think the Youth Sounding Board at the European Union provides that possibility. It gives you will learn a lot, be exposed to events, to training courses, to how to do public speaking, for instance. So you will hone your skills, but at the same time, it will give you an opportunity to influence what the European Union does in Nepal. Don't miss that.
Indeed, and Smarika and I and the current cohort of 30 members are testament to the message shared by the ambassador. Thank you so much, ambassador, for your inspiring word. And it's always so fun and inspiring to talk to you, ambassador. And when I say that, I'm speaking for the current cohort of Youth Sounding Board members as well. Thank you so much, ambassador.
We certainly learned a lot from this conversation, and I hope our viewers will learn a lot too. If you want to know more about what this Youth Sounding Board Buzz is all about and keep up with our activities, please follow us on our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and also please visit our website at ysbnepal.org. Once again, thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Likewise.
Thank you very much.
Ambassador, let's do a fun pose for the camera. So you're going to do something that we all enjoy. Yeah, the little hearts with
The
fingers.
little hearts. It took
Yeah.
me a long time to understand there were hearts. But
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it can be difficult for people from older generation. If I'm not being too rude with that. Thank you, ambassador.
Thank you.